welcome back to the Connected Sphere. Today we've got a great episode for you. We've got Lizzie Jackson, who is a creative here in Bristol. She's got loads of creative projects that she does. It's a lot to list in how many ways that she is creative, but one of her things is like writing stage plays. So welcome to the Connected Sphere.
Thank you.
And today we thought we'd do a bit of an episode on mental health, mainly because I think we're in an age where like so much mental health kind of therapy and stuff is being like commodified and kind of maybe losing its edge. It's good that people are talking about mental health more, but I personally find that some of it's a little bit cringe. That's where I'm left standing with it all. But yeah, we've talked before about the kind of nervous system side of things. What was your kind of introduction into sort of understanding that the central nervous system kind of plays a big part in mental health? Or
So I have suffered with like physical health issues in my life, and I always thought of them as separate because that's kind of how we're taught to think about things. Like, oh, you have a physical health problem, so that's separate to your mental health, and things are very compartmentalized in like the medical system. And so I never thought of it as interconnected. So I kind of went on quite a big journey with that and sort of came to the realization that your mental health has a massive impact on your physical health and vice versa. So you can't really pull them apart. And the one thing that connects them both is the nervous system, which is your body's fight or flight response.
yeah.
And so when you learn to regulate your autonomic nervous system, you are able to regulate your mood because 80% of the signals from your body get sent up to your brain. So quite a lot of the thoughts that you're having are based on your state of your nervous system.
Yeah.
So we kind of have this idea that like mental health is like in the brain, but it's actually not. It comes a lot from the body.
Yeah. I totally get what you mean. That bit you said at the beginning as well about like the decompartmentalization of anything kind of in the medical spectrum. It all gets pulled apart. Like that's a problem with your heart. That's a problem with your whatever. And I guess with the brain and central nervous system thing, for thousands of years, it's probably been hard to figure out like what is inspiring which, or like, you know, is that a central nervous problem, or is that a brain problem, and like what's triggering what? But
Yeah.
I guess when people struggle with, would you call it like an overactive central nervous system, or just a not a bad association with it, but how would you describe when it's kind of doing the wrong thing?
So like our bodies are always trying to protect us. So when we're young, that's when our central nervous system learns what's safe and what isn't.
Yeah.
So a lot of it will be like unconscious things that you might not even know what they are. And so like it's not really about knowing what happened. I think a lot of trauma work is based on like events. It's kind of like, oh, this thing happened to me. But it's always about how your body has interpreted that and how it's responding, because two events can happen to two different people, and depending on the state of their nervous system, they will have two very different reactions. So
Yeah.
your brain learns what's safe and what isn't, and there's a point where your nervous system will become overwhelmed with life events that you've never dealt with or like completed. So
Yeah.
you might have a nervous system response to something that you're never able to get to safety. So like in a normal cycle, you would have a trigger. So like say if you saw a bear in the forest, you would have a response of like, oh, I need to run away from this. This is something that's coming to attack me.
Yeah.
But then as soon as that threat has passed, your body is able to calm down. But what tends to happen is that we never learn to calm down, and our nervous systems react like this to tiny things that happen in our lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of addiction problems come in, because people are looking for things to, well, subconsciously looking to things to regulate them, because they're not able to get rid of that feeling of like, oh, I feel really anxious, like I can't calm down, like for some
Yeah.
reason
Yeah.
my body's not regulating. So we have to make it a practice, like we have to do things that show our body that we are safe, and there's like quite a lot of different ways to do that.
Mm.
And a lot of it is based on like just being present with your body and showing it that it's safe in the moment. So there's like loads of different practices that you can do, and
Yeah.
one of them is like just simply like looking really slowly around the room, and that tells your body, oh, okay, like I'm safe enough to actually just have the time to like look around the room slowly. I can see that I'm in a safe space,
Yeah.
and then that sends that signal to your body that you are safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we have so many of these perceived threats that our body is reacting to, that our minds are like, what the fuck? Like I know that I'm safe, but I don't feel safe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's you have to work with the body, and that's the only way you can really get out of these things. Like it's not a mental thing, like you can't think yourself into safety.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that almost like it's an open task that the body is set. It's like it's sent a task to you to say we're in trouble,
Yeah.
and then if you're not sending those messages back,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just there, just going, oh, we're still in trouble. Like
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
you haven't told me to calm down, so I'm just still in trouble now. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I I don't know if I don't know. I must have like a nervous system response to things, but a lot of my mental health concerns haven't really been around the nervous system. So I guess I'm trying to like relate it in my head to other things. Um, so for me, like I've struggled with quite deep depression at times, and that to me it feels exactly the same. Like the body is trying to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to remove you from all the situations where everything might be wrong, but it's doing it in such a, I don't know, it's almost like the opposite of the nervous system, where it's doing it in such a shitty, boring way. It's just like, it's just not letting you get yourself into trouble. Like, it's not letting you get into any harm.
Yeah. But
Um,
the when you say that you're depressed, that is like a well-known nervous system response, because that's your body going into shutdown. So it's
yeah,
basically when your body's tried all of the other things. So it would have tried,
it's tried through the central nerve. Tried through the nervous system response, but because maybe I'm not very well connected to that. It's getting to the point of
so like shutdown is
yeah,
at the
yeah,
bottom of the ladder. So when you,
yeah,
so like the polyvagal theory or system is that there's like a ladder. So at the top there'll be ventral vagal, which will be when you're connected, when you're feeling safe and you're able to connect to people and be social.
yeah,
And then just underneath that there will be like anger. So that's like when a boundary's crossed, and it's kind of almost like one of the healthiest responses in a way. But lots of people learn that anger isn't acceptable, so then they'll go into anxiety or fight or flight. So you
mm,
might try and take action to get rid of the problem, and then when that fails you go into a freeze response.
yeah,
So then you're going further and further down the ladder until you get to shutdown, which is known as depression. So when you're at the bottom of the ladder, that's when your nervous system has tried everything. It's like hopeless. It's like,
Yeah.
I can't move. I'm not able to do anything. It's kind of like
Yeah.
you feel completely incapable of changing anything, and your thoughts will reflect that state of the body.
Yeah.
So it's all part of that nervous system ladder. So you've got to learn what to do to kind of move up the ladder. And it's quite interesting because you will, when you start to regulate, you still
Mm.
have to climb up the ladder. So
Yeah.
you won't feel great straight away. You'll probably go into freeze, and then you'll probably go into anxiety, and then you might feel really angry, and
Yeah.
then you'll get back into like a ventral vagal system.
Yeah.
So it's about supporting your body through all of those states, bringing a sense of safety, being like, oh, it's okay to feel shut down right now. And
Yeah.
like very, very slow moving practices and grounding practices can just sort of bring you back up that ladder, back up
Yeah.
into the ventral vagal safe and social system. And so it's tough work because people often feel like they're not doing it right because
Yeah.
they're getting really anxious, and it's like, no, that's good.
Yeah.
You're moving up the ladder, but it's so difficult because people are scared of feeling anxious.
Yeah.
So it's much more comforting for your nervous system to stay in that shutdown state
Yeah.
and not climb up the ladder. And then there's a whole host of other things that get in the way. I think when people take their thoughts too seriously, you can then convince yourself that it's actually better to be shut down
Yeah.
instead of just being like, oh, I'm having these anxious thoughts. This is just part of my journey back up into a better state.
Yeah. I think that when you're on that bottom rung and it's kind of you're doing the slow steps up to get back up out of that like total shutdown, that that reminds me of how getting out of depression is. It's like if you try and jump any step in that process, your body won't let you.
No.
Like you need to set basic tasks of like, oh, I'm going to do the shopping today and I'm going to do that today, and then that's your level of like it kind of even on a functional level of like that's you pushing slowly up on the first rung.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
just in a that's like a physical analogy of what we're doing in our minds, but I guess it shows that's kind of the slowness of getting out of that um that bottom rung. That thing you said about um no, sorry, it's jumped my mind, but like about when your body's kind of given up sending that message anymore and it's gone into shutdown.
Yeah.
Have you heard about the experiment with the rats that they did? It was some experiment where rats learn helplessness. It's called something like learned helplessness. So they did this basic psychological experiment on rats where they'll set up an experiment where the rat can really never really get out of the cage or the maze because all the exits are blocked. And then when you put it in a maze that isn't blocked and does have exits, it's learned that helplessness, so it won't try. That reminds me of that kind of shutdown. It's like
That's
that
exactly it.
that
Yeah.
rat's body has learned
Mm. Yeah.
that nothing will solve that situation,
Yeah.
and just to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that's interesting. I can see that there's a nervous system way to sort of to look at most of the conditions like depression and
Yeah.
yeah
Yeah. It's like people have different patterns. So people will learn different things. So like there are a lot of people that are stuck in the fight or flight, which is like an anxiety response. I know that for me, I get stuck in freeze a lot.
yeah
Like I never totally shut down because that doesn't feel safe. So because I always have to be kind of, able to get out if I want to. But then at the same time, I feel kind of unable to move or like do things. It's like a freeze response. It's like having you're trying to drive a car but you've got the brake on at the same time. It's that kind of feeling where it's like
Yeah.
you don't know where to go, but there's so much energy and charge behind it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you have to get yourself into a space where you can very, very slowly teach your body that it is safe. And I think a big thing to also say about it is that it's not that you're going to be able to get out of those states overnight. Like, you have to grow your capacity in your nervous system to hold all of the states. Because I think there's like a resistance to feeling things. So, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
resisting depression, you're resisting the anxiety, you're resisting the freeze. You have to learn to accept that freeze and kind of give it a bit of love and care and
Yeah.
teach it that it's safe. And then as soon as you do that, something shifts and you have a bit more safety in your system. So it's like you can
Yeah.
have blended states. So you can feel a sense of safety and feel depressed. So it's not like there's a ladder and that's it. You can move, you can get your ventral vagal and bring it down to where you are to help you move up the
Yeah.
ladder. And that's kind of like how you do it through various different somatic practices, and like teaching your body safety.
Yeah. Yeah. The capacity for it thing's quite interesting, isn't it? 'Cause like, yeah, like you've got the capacity to sort of be present with that.
Yeah.
A bit like, is it like having enough power not to dissociate from it?
Yeah,
So
that's a
like
big part.
when you're in a freeze,
Hmm.
you're wanting to dissociate from that and not even accept the freeze. So like, oh, I don't want to be like this. So you're not even sinking into the freeze. It's
Yeah,
just not. It's in a
yeah, yeah,
state of like
yeah,
you're against the wall, but you can't go this way.
yeah, exactly.
And so you're not really even sinking into the freeze, kind of like that. Like, you can't even sit with the freeze.
Yeah, a lot of it is bringing presence to it, because then as soon as you have presence of it, there's
Yeah,
a part of you that knows that you're safe. But then if you don't bring presence to it, the part of you that thinks that you're in danger is very overwhelmed and blended with yourself. So you kind of have to bring another aspect of yourself that knows that it's safe into the mix so that that can start to dissolve.
yeah. What does, I mean, you said that there's lots of different practices that do that. Have, if this is too personal, you don't have to say, obviously. But like, have you got a specific practice that you were doing at first to kind of be able to sit with that? Was it something like, I don't know, but like when you say you're bringing an aspect of yourself, are you imagining yourself in a different state? Are you, what's, I guess, what's the,
What does it look
what's the
like?
action there? Yeah.
So I think that when I first started learning about this, I was very kind of driven by anxiety of like, I need to do something about this. I need to get out of this state. I need to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
just do anything to, because it was so horrible.
yeah,
It's it's good to be mindful of that part as well. And so I think some people aren't ready to sit with things because they don't have the capacity to do that. So you kind of have to build regulation around that.
yeah,
So the best way to actually start to do that is to do visualization practices of imagining that you are somewhere where you feel safe. So you can, or just something that makes you feel safe. So like
yeah, yeah,
my typical go-to was always just imagining that I could see the sea and
yeah,
just listening to the waves. And at that point, that was the only thing that brought me enough safety so that I could sit with the freeze.
yeah, yeah,
And then there's a exercise called pendulation, which is where you will go to your safe place in your mind and then back to the freeze and then back to the safe place, so that your brain kind of learns that it's safe.
in small steps.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
rewiring your neural pathways so that there's not so much charge there that it feels so unsafe that you can't go there.
yeah. like releasing a valve slowly, just like
Yeah,
you know when you like turn on a tap and you maybe know that there's a load of pressure behind the taps, just like letting bits of it out so it doesn't. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That's a very good description of that. I actually like this has blown my mind a bit because I've always thought that I understood a bit about that kind of no, I can feel my nervous system sometimes when it's having I don't know like when there's surging emotion or there's surging something there. But I think because I've had years of depression, when I feel like that, I feel like oh fucking hell, it's like a relief. It's like lovely to feel that intensity. But I can imagine if that intensity's on, yeah, when you're in a state of freeze, that's got to feel awful.
yeah. It's really horrible.
Yeah.
It's really, really not nice.
And does the freeze look like you would imagine it to look like? Like it is kind of like, I mean, if that's happening and you're in a social situation, is that looking like a full body freeze as well? Like you kind of
Yeah, yeah. It kind of looks
looks like your
like a
eyes are
freeze.
glazing over or something. You're just somewhere else.
Yeah, it's kind of a dissociative place to be. You're not completely collapsed. So when people are collapsed, you can tell by their body language. So they'll be like floppy and like completely like hunched
Yeah.
over, and will just be like very. It's kind of like an animal. It's like animals will pretend to be dead as like a survival technique, and like humans are quite similar in that way as well.
Yeah.
So we've got these ancient survival responses inside of us that
Yeah.
are not equipped for the life that we live now. So
Yeah.
we're having like a overreactive response to what's happening around us, and no real way to regulate because we're not grounded and because we're not taught how to come back into safety. Like that's not something that we're ever taught in school or by our parents or by the people around us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's quite difficult to get back to that place of actual safety. So I think that happens a lot when people are faced with emotions that they find difficult, because they'll have an emotion and then they'll get scared of it, so they'll go straight into anxiety or freeze, or collapse because they don't want to feel that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's about learning that emotions are safe and that they're held. And the big problem I think we're having is that we don't have a community around us to help us to co-regulate, because that's a massive part of healing.
Yeah.
So when we don't have people around us that are able to sit with us and tolerate our emotions without also having a similar response of like, oh, but it's okay. Like that's something I hear loads. It's like, oh, no,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
okay. I'm really actually like having a bit of a breakdown right now. Like I think
Yeah.
we don't really know how to hold space for people. And I think a lot of that is because we're scared of what it's going to turn into. Like we're scared of witnessing
Yeah.
those big emotional breakdowns, and we're not able to like hold people in those spaces.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a real skill to be able to recognize your own reaction to someone's emotion and still hold space. Like there's a lot of awareness that needs to happen there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't have the capacity to do that. So it's not even really their fault. So we've got to have compassion there,
Yeah.
but also try and grow together to build that awareness and hold space for everyone. I think that's how we're going to make the world a better and more safer place for people to express themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Um. Yeah. I think like with the holding space thing, I remember seeing this. I think it was like Depression Week or something, and it was like
What a
how.
great week.
Yeah. 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 But it was about like you know in that week there were lots of promos about like do you know how your friend is and um that classic thing of like don't accept that classic Englishism, when you get an Englishism of like, oh, how are you, and someone just goes, yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah,
It's not anything. That's their like vocal response to that thing, because that's like a learned language thing that we
exactly.
have
Yeah,
in
yeah,
England. but like this week was specific about, you know, like let's try and tackle depression head on. And I remember being quite depressed when I saw that, and I remember thinking like, no one's accepting of depression. Like as much as we think that we're good at dealing with depression, most people sit in a baseline of like, oh, if someone's miserable and you're around them a lot, you'll hang out with them less. Like that's how we deal with it in society.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And like,
Yeah.
and always when I'm out of depression, I always think like, I do not care what mood anyone's in. Like if I'm in a social situation, I'll probably end up just like talking to the most miserable person there because I'll think like, oh, they're being authentic. Like something's really
Yeah,
authentic about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I think we have forgotten that. We have forgotten that like to really embrace these sides, we can't be select about it. We can't be like, oh, I'm going to hang out with my mate when it's fun. No, you've got to hang out with him when he's being miserable, and
Yeah,
you've got to make him feel like he doesn't want to cheer up. Like let him not cheer up.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
He's got to learn safety in that depression, even if he's the most like one of my things when I was quite depressed is one of my defense mechanisms is apathy, right?
Mm,
And if you're around someone that's apathetic about everything, when you're not depressed, it's like, oh, you don't want to be around that. Like, you can't, that person can't care for anything. That person can't attach to anything. But that's a fucking defense. That's a defense that we need to be recognizing as a defense.
mm,
A little bit like with all of this, right? Like recognizing that the freeze comes with whatever it comes with. But yeah, something about it is like society talks about doing it well, but when it comes to it, I don't think on an individual basis that people are doing that with other people. You know, if someone's angry, there seems to be quite a surface level thing of it of like, oh no, person was angry.
mm.
That person is angry because it's a sign of something, and
Yeah,
unless we're talking about the thing that's a sign of, we're having a pointless surface level conversation about emotions. And I'm not trying to say that all of society is doing that, but there is something where people are very reactive. People are very reactive to an emotion before understanding what's even underneath that. Like
exactly. Yeah,
what's that hiding? So what's that freeze hiding, or what does that person need to come out of that
yeah,
thing?
yeah. I think
Yeah,
anger's a really good one to talk about because I think it's probably the most judged emotion ever. Like if somebody
absolutely.
expresses rage,
Yeah.
that's like
It's the
people
most
judge
shunned in
it.
society.
Yeah,
It's only acceptable in sport. That's the
yeah,
only time that anger is acceptable in
yeah,
society.
yeah.
Sorry, I'll let you
No,
carry
no,
on.
no.
But
I was
yeah, there's something
just
about
agreeing
that.
with you.
It is so shunned,
Yeah.
and actually, there's such a misunderstanding about what anger is.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
To me, anger feels like it's a surge of something that hasn't even formed into an emotion. It's a surge of like that hasn't decided where it wants to sit. Like it hasn't decided to be anger yet. It hasn't decided to be sadness. It hasn't decided to be any emotion. It's just a surge of something, and it kind of gets like you couldn't hold on to anger. No one can hold on to it for too long without it becoming something else.
It's for me, I
Like,
find it's a cover up for often grief. I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
that like anger's often it's really tricky because obviously nobody likes it when somebody's angry with them. Like it does feel quite intense.
yeah,
Um, but I think that anger is kind of a signal quite a lot of the time that somebody's crossed a boundary. Um, and underneath that is quite a lot of pain.
yeah,
And so I think that, I don't know, I don't want to be too general here, but I think that men generally find it easier to go to anger than to express grief.
yeah,
And then women generally find it easier to express grief than to feel angry. And I've noticed that within myself. Like I
Or
can only be angry for like 0.1 seconds before I start crying.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I'll be like really angry, but then I'll just like go straight into like that that sadness.
yeah, yeah.
Um and yeah, I think that often it's you kind of need to be a balanced person. So you sort of need to practice what you're not feeling or what you're too scared to feel.
Yeah,
So like I think a lot of anger work for women is really good because it can be a really empowering emotion
yeah,
because it can get us out of situations. It kind of demands that we are respected, that we are able to take action on the things that are problems in our lives. If we don't have anger, it's really disempowering, like because
it's a
then we
whole heap of
collapse.
energy. Like without
Yeah.
anger, yeah, it's like a really interesting one. Like that's such a beautiful thing to say. That like, the way you said that was it. I think that is what people struggle with in society. Men go quicker to anger.
Mm,
Um, I don't mean this in a sexist way or a gender way. Just in general that like someone that's quite stoic maybe that struggles to get to grief,
mm,
they do find anger easier. Um, yeah, and there is something in it that there's so much energy there to be had that if you can hold on to it, not I don't mean hold on to it and become resentful and bitter, but like hold on to that power until you've decided what to do with it, because it is a whole load of power. Like people get
mm,
stuff done
mm.
if people can hold on to the anger and like it creates revolutions, doesn't it? You
Yeah,
hold on to it a
exactly.
bit and you use that as fuel for something. Um,
I think that's a healthy example of anger.
yeah,
I think when you love your anger or when you understand your own anger and yourself,
yeah,
it's so powerful. But
yeah, yeah,
when you don't understand it, that's when it becomes toxic. And that's
yeah,
when it becomes like something that you're just holding all of the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel like as a society we know how to display it in like we've got sports that rely on it. There's like fighting sports that rely on it, but you never, yeah, you totally don't see it as acceptable. Even when you start a job, they'll do this thing of like teaching you. There might be a basic video that they show you on human interactions, and they always show that that's that's the one that's the one where you went too far. And
Mm.
it's right, I guess. You don't want to go into a workplace and start shouting at people, but something about acknowledging it. Um, yeah, 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 yeah. Interesting. And grief is, yeah, I would say grief is. It's always that thing of I don't know how to describe this properly, but like you're saying that it's harder to go to grief sometimes. Like it's quicker to be angry at something. Like let's say you're a kid and you're angry at a parent. What you're probably doing there is getting angry at the parent because actually it's harder to accept that they might have done something wrong or that actually they didn't love you enough to totally protect you in that way. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like it's
yeah,
the easier thing to be internally angry at yourself than to accept a world where someone you love might do something wrong.
yeah.
Um,
I think kids definitely have the psychology where they will always blame themselves over something that a parent has done. Like they will believe that they are the problem in that situation, which is where like quite a lot of these harmful beliefs start, and where a lot of shame is held, I think, in kids.
yeah,
um it's a really tricky dynamic. Like I think it's so important to tell children consistently that they aren't the problem and that people have reactions that aren't about them,
yeah,
especially sensitive kids. I think I was a very sensitive kid, so I felt like if an adult around me was having a reaction to my behavior, then I was the problem. rather than that they were actually dysregulated and that it was coming from a different place which had nothing to do with me at all.
Yeah.
And I think I still recognize that part of myself coming up today. If somebody's angry, like I will immediately always think it's my fault first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'll have to do a bit of work to be like, oh, okay, that's not the case.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely like a trained response, isn't it? That whether I don't think no one's deliberately taught the kids that that's the way to respond, but it's the easiest way to respond, isn't it? Like it's almost safer for the kid to hate themselves more
Yeah, it's
and
safer.
live in a safe world
Exactly.
where everyone's meaning right, but they're making the mistakes.
Because
Like
then
that's
they
a
can
safer
fix it.
place for their nervous system as well to
Mm,
be in as well. Like
yeah. Because
a
they,
little self-hate means that you don't have to say, "Oh, they didn't care enough about me to pay attention to me that day," or something like that. It can be minor, whatever it
yeah,
is,
yeah.
but it saves on them, yeah, having that switch. In a way, it saves the kid from switching on that nervous system response, because the nervous system response might be that, that I'll use an example because maybe it's easier to use an example, but like if a kid is left alone and then causes himself harm and the parent's nowhere to be seen, and then the parent comes back, it's easier for the kid to think that he did something wrong rather than think that the parent was not looking after him properly. And what that might do is raise, like, choosing self hatred or shame at that point for the kid is easier than the kid always having his nervous system response turned on a little bit to like, oh, dad's fucking shit looking after me. Like he might put me in trouble at some point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and also I think kids' brains aren't like developed at that point enough to comprehend any of that.
Oh yeah, yeah. So it's not
It's,
like a conscious thing that's
yeah,
happening, but
that they
like,
will always automatically blame themselves because it's safer for them to stay in connection to their caregiver.
yeah,
So they
yeah,
will
yeah,
have to blame themselves so that they can stay in connection, because when they lose that connection, that's the ultimate
yeah,
act of unsafety.
yeah, yeah,
So they have to have that. And so, yeah, this is like where it all sort of begins, I guess, in terms of like mental health
yeah,
problems when people get older, because you've got all of this unresolved stuff that people are too scared to feel. And because their nervous systems have been trained to stay in certain states when they were younger
yeah,
to protect them.
yeah, yeah. And then as people get older, you've got to you've not just got to untrain, but then in a way you're the caregiver to yourself, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
it's like we have to we have to process whatever was received or not received from our caregiver and then put ourselves in a position to like
give that to
give
ourselves.
that to ourselves when we're already coming from the thing that's, yeah, it's like a whole minefield of um changing states and yeah, suddenly you're trying to grow the parent to yourself so that you're like, yeah,
And that's an initiation that we all go through.
yeah,
When we grow up, we realize that our parents are not gods. I think that can be a sort of subconsciously held belief when we're younger. Like we see them and what they're doing as perfect or like
it is
right.
godlike. Like if you have a baby, I guess like that person is shifting out of your vision and coming back. Like imagine being a baby and you can't even see past a certain point at some point. You're totally wrapped up in your immediate surroundings. And then this being is just coming and
Yeah,
giving you everything you
exactly.
need.
Yeah.
As it must just be like that is a god to that baby.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
like it's
yeah.
just there's no way for yeah, for the baby not to build in their mind that
Exactly,
their
yeah.
parents are gods, and then somehow they've got to not unlearn that, but that's got to shift. That's got to massively shift. Yeah, yeah.
So I think, as you get older, and I think a big part of becoming a teenager is seeing your parents for who they really are and kind of
The fallibility.
understanding, oh, actually, I was right about that. And then feeling quite indignant and quite teenagery about it. And like, yeah. And then also not really being able to process your emotions properly because you're going through puberty and having all of these things going on. Like it is quite hard being a human. I think
Yeah.
it's really difficult, especially when we're not really given the skills to regulate any of these emotions. I think that's when it comes out in rage and all of these different ways
Yeah,
that
yeah.
are seen as unacceptable in society and kind of shunned, which then adds more shame to the problem.
Yeah.
So it is really difficult to kind of untangle all of those knots and to find safe spaces to heal and express all of these different things that we've kept in our bodies.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It did always amaze me growing up how much of the time, like schools might have changed a bit now, but when I was growing up, the amount of time that would be on subjects and the amount the lack of time on sort of understanding the human suit that you're riding around in.
No, there was no
And
time for that.
yeah, yeah, which is,
Guess it was
I mean,
playtime.
you're meant to get that from your parents, and you do get it from your parents, but nobody knows if they're getting it from their parents. So, like, a school space would be a good space to say, "Oh, let's explore the emotions." I'm sure they're getting better at that now, but like, I always remember it being fundamentally strange that like I'm having to learn how mountains work on the inside, but nobody's told me about how I stop this uncomfortable feeling that I'm feeling because I'm in a bad mood that day, or
Mm,
like even manage it or figure it out. There was just none of that,
no.
and more about, you know, naming the different sizes of outlets on a volcano. So like one of them is like a whatever that's called and whatever that's called. I can't even remember it now, so it's pointless. You should have been teaching me about emotion. Like, I don't know. There's a lack of that. Like, I hope that's getting better in schools because I think otherwise you've got everyone has to wait until they're a young adult to start even trying to figure out anything.
Mm,
Like, and I think that's where a lot of people are left. Like
yeah.
that's the time to suddenly go, oh, now I need to figure out all that. It's like I've been alive for however long you've been alive for, and then that's when it's time to figure that out. It's
Yeah.
strange.
And it's scary because by that time you've kind of formed your identity and your friends and everything
Yeah,
around you. And then you're sort of slowly realizing that all of it really needs to change
yeah,
and that you've got all of these kind of things that you're relying on. Like I think alcohol is a big thing in the UK anyway. Like it's so normalized to get drunk as a
yeah,
way of like letting off steam and to, I guess, release all the parts of yourself that you don't feel are acceptable when you're sober. And it's
mm,
really difficult to change yourself when you're so used to doing that. I think that was definitely a part of my personal journey. Is like, how do I like still have fun and not kind of like completely banish this from my life,
yeah,
but also know that there's so much deeper connection to be had outside of that and to focus on building that so that I feel better in my body all the time rather than like just living for the weekend.
yeah. Because like you're trying to work out loads of complex stuff emotionally while taking something that's very good at numbing all that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I always like that quote. Um, I think it was Gabor Mate, but he's got that book In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts where he talks about addiction, and he says this thing of like part of the addiction process can be for people to thank their addictions
Mm.
for the fact that
that
it
helps
it
you.
might have got them through that difficult time, like being addicted and regulating in a certain way, a bit like the nervous system, like you're having these tools, these somatic tools to get you through. And I think with addiction, people are picking the tools for how they regulate. And so some of society sees it as like, oh no, they're just weaker at not
No,
having the willpower, and it's got nothing to do with that. It's just like they've got so much that they're trying to work through, and they're trying to use tools, which drugs are great tools, aren't they? Like great tools at totally changing your state of being.
exactly. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah. So there's a bit of like, yeah, how do we figure out how to not drink and use those tools in the wrong way? But also, they're also great at getting us through the interim of like getting us through that. Yeah.
yeah. It is tough. I think it
Yeah.
is a really tough thing because it's so effective. Like,
Yeah.
there's not many things that you can just drink or take that will instantly make you feel better.
Yeah.
And I think the other way is a lot harder and it takes a lot of time and
Yeah.
you need a lot of support. And so it just seems really difficult or almost impossible for some people who just don't have the access to those tools or support or
Yeah.
even knowledge about other ways of regulating and getting through things.
Yeah.
So it really is like a wider issue because I think that a lot of people promote nervous system healing tools on a very individualistic basis. So it's kind of like, oh, you can just sit in your room and do these tools and you'll regulate. And it's like, well, on one hand, that's a really good thing to do and it will help you. And it's definitely something you should do. If if you're not able to do those tools out in the world, or you're maybe seen weird for doing them
Yeah.
out in public, then that's going to be very off-putting and another barrier to you learning how to regulate. Like
Yeah.
if you were doing a breathwork session in the park or something, people
Yeah.
might
Yeah.
think that was a strange thing to do. But I think we should be really encouraging people to do that together so that they can find people to co-regulate with and
Yeah.
feel safe around and like building those communities, I think is like so important and it's something that I'm not seeing a lot of
Yeah.
and something that I'd like to grow more of.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, without doing it in public spaces, y- you're testing it in a bubble, right? Like if you're using those systems to regulate when you're at home and you're kind of safe, although there might be examples of times when you can test whether it's working, those tools, there's never going to be any test like being in social situations and still being able to regulate, right?
Exactly, yeah. I think
Like,
that's the main problem I think people have is it's getting to the point where you feel safe enough that other people might think you're weird if you start regulating in a certain way.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And that's something I've been struggling with. It's like, and then it's kind of like, but should I, or should I just be around people that don't find it weird?
yeah,
Maybe I should just be making different friends, you know? Maybe I
yeah.
should just be like, you know,
There's an element of like the world needs to learn what mental health looks like in lots of different settings.
hmm
So, like, I guess like all my friends and family had to learn about my way of dealing with depression, which was very much isolating and kind of baby steps out of it. And I think there might not be. I don't know if there's a societal thing of like maybe the societal thing needs to see that everyone's mental health is going to look different. So whether you're training yourself out of freeze mechanisms or I'm in a bar and I'm trying not to be so apathetic about something when I'm in depression, like they're two similar things in that we're both trying to get more into that sort of connected feeling of like connecting connecting with the emotions again, but in a safe way. Society is never going to learn like everyone's version of that, but if we're able to see that it's the same for everybody, something is the same for everybody, but we're just not giving it. We don't have the right language for it in a way. So I guess what I mean by that is like I don't really know anyone that has perfect mental health. It's not a scale of like, oh, that person's got amazing mental health. I see everybody as equally with their struggles. It's just trying to recognize the different outlets in people and the different how that looks. So something about it is like we need to stop looking at people as if like, oh, that's someone that's got really bad mental health and that's someone that's got really good mental health. It's like it's totally across the board. It's just that that person with good mental health, his mental health or whatever it is like his mental health is displaying in a way that fits with society of how it is anyway. Maybe so it's less visible, right? Like the things. Does that make sense? I think I've got the point that I'm trying to make, but it's like I don't know. It's almost like anyone with really good looking mental health to the outside is just using certain tools that are kind of accepted in society, right? Like going for a run to regulate your mental health
Yeah.
rather than do it in another way. So
Yeah.
some people regulate their mental health by ways that make them look like they're succeeding in society anyway, but we don't know what's going on inside for them. That person that is just obsessed with running might be lacking in like there might be something in there that's like it looks like good mental health to the outside, and I
Yeah.
think we've got to get better at recognizing that it's not. We need to get better at seeing through it in some way so that yeah, I don't really. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think there's definitely like a good point to be made about socially acceptable ways of regulating that are often actually part of the problem. Like if somebody is obsessed with running, that doesn't mean that they're healthy, because there might be an obsessive element there,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like something like that. But because
And there
it's
might be a disbalance in other parts of their life or something that like
mm,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like there's an obsession with producing work and being really productive. And I think that's often sort of cheered on and championed, especially in Western culture.
yeah,
And that often is what causes quite a lot of bad mental health. These pressures to constantly be doing, or this feeling of like I need to be productive today. Like a lot of there's so many people that suffer with self-worth issues around being productive. I know that I struggle with that as well. It's this like, well, if I'm not doing anything, then I'm pointless. It's like this weird belief system that we've all picked up on
yeah,
because of capitalism.
yeah, yeah,
And so we're not seeing rest as valuable. But then I think as soon as you start seeing rest as valuable, something really beautiful happens, and you do start to heal when you just are able just to sit outside and like
yeah.
look at look at nature and just be like, this is worth my time.
It's a bit like separating your mental health from capitalism, right? Because then you can rest in peace without this thing of like, oh, I'm doing nothing. If mental health is so entwined with capitalism, which I really think it is,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
um, yeah, like you say, you can't rest without feeling like you're wasting time.
And that is really bad for your nervous system. Like that
Yeah,
state is like anxiety. Like you're constantly putting yourself
yeah, yeah,
into an anxious state, if you're always believing that you need to be productive.
Yeah.
And so that is I think it's a terrible thing for people who are creatives, because rest is such an important part of the creative process.
Yeah.
Yet so many people just feel like they can't accept that part of the process because they've been taught that they need to be constantly doing something.
Yeah.
So it just completely wrecks anything that needs time to grow. I think there's such a wisdom in rest
Yeah.
that we haven't learned how to nurture. And then because we're so stressed all the time, we're like, we can't even face doing the creative thing that we want to do. So then we're procrastinating doing it. And then we're believing that we're never going to be able to do it because we're not ever calming down. And that's like a really horrible cycle to be in as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, it's bizarre. I don't know how it's untangled, but I think it would be good. It would be good to recognize how intertwined it is with capitalism.
Mm.
I think like I have this conversation sometimes with people that like if I meet somebody that's a full blown just like loves the idea of where capitalism is taking us, I think like I say to them like think of how much time you've already spent just on capitalism before you're even aware of capitalism. Like think of how much time you spend at school when you're learning how to do the job that you're going to do when you leave school before you're aware of the word capitalism. Like,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
how much of your life is tailored towards that journey that you need to be in working capacity for 60 years of your life. And just to, yeah, just before you even decided whether you like capitalism or not, you've been trained in it.
yeah, exactly.
Like you've been trained in it in that you see it in your waking world all the time as a kid. You encounter it in like social spheres and like who's accepted in a group and who's not. And like you've already been brainwashed in it before you tell me that you naturally learned that you like the ideas of capitalism. You like you will need to unlearn capitalism before you're able to be unbiased about that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think it's the same with like, yeah, reckon like you say, it's admired in culture, right? If we're top earners, we're seen as successful, but we might be top earners that have not spent any time, I don't know, meditating or figuring out what joy means to them, or there might there's a good chance that there's some really kind of unbalanced sides of someone's mind if they are focused enough on success to be successful. Um, and I'm sure there's people that juggle both. I'm sure there's people that juggle all of it. But yeah, I think I don't know what I'm doing here. I can't tell whether I'm having a rant or I'm trying to find like some hidden part of something. But I guess a lot of people know that, don't they? If you spend too much time working to build something that's just money, then you might be missing the substance of it. But I guess with like, yeah, I don't think that's a hidden fact. I think I'm having a rant. Like, yeah,
And I think people feel safe with what they know. And so when people say that they like capitalism, it's because they're quite content and they're probably in quite a good place with it,
yeah,
where they're financially stable and feel okay.
yeah,
And so it works for them. But like you said, I don't think that there's going to be, there's probably going to feel like there's a hole inside them where there's something missing, because like there's so many different ways of living, and like we're in like a ball in the middle of the universe, which is like this amazing, mysterious, crazy thing. And like if the only thing that you want is to work and make money and like
yeah,
not have connection and not prioritize the beings around us and to like
Yeah.
love everyone around us and to connect with people, like, because those are the things that fill me up anyway. And like having a good time, like listening to music, like
Yeah.
all of these different things that inspire us and make us feel playful are shut down by the capitalistic nature of the world that we live in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like they might feel safe, but they're probably very unfulfilled.
There's a good word that you used in that as well, like prioritize. I think like I don't think many people can get to that level of success without prioritizing wealth over those other things that you're saying,
Yeah, exactly.
which already means that they're at an imbalance. So I think like just like recognizing that yeah, I don't know. I kind of see it everywhere. The more I see like people being depressed and masking, I think that's a very similar. I see it kind of very similar to someone being really rich and only being focused on money. I see them in the same light of like, oh, that person's masking with money. That person's masking by putting on a happy face when they're depressed, and it is probably the same thing.
Mm.
Um, and I guess that's what I mean by like hidden mental health. I think we're in an epidemic of mental health that it's such an epidemic that people don't even realize that the people they work with are struggling with mental health because it just looks normal. It just
Yeah,
looks like,
yeah.
um, everybody masks in a certain way, and it's just an expected thing.
And I think that's why I struggle so much to work normally
Yeah,
because that's just no, I just feel so like rebellious against that. Like it makes me angry. But in a good way. It's like a fire of like, no, I'm not accepting that for myself because I value myself more than that.
yeah, yeah,
And I think that that's what we all need to find, that like inner fire where we're just like, no, I'm not going to do that.
yeah, yeah,
And I think that is starting to happen across the world. I think people are starting to wake up due to various things that are happening, like the war in Gaza. And it's kind of really getting to the heart of like what matters, and what matters is people,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah,
being kind and like allowing space for people to express themselves and to create things, and like
yeah, yeah,
that's what's important, right?
yeah.
Like it's not making money for some big company
And that
who are
is,
just fucking up the world. Like who wants that?
yeah. And not only is that the important thing of focusing on people is like that is the mental health journey. Like you imagine every mental health journey that anyone's gone on. Like for me, it's being in quite a deep depression and then trying to attach to people again. Um, and for you it's getting the nervous system thing so that then you can reconnect with yourself and
Mm,
reconnect with others in a better way. It's all for that goal of connecting with people.
yeah.
And so everything that's not that, I don't want to tar everything with this brush of like if it's not connecting with people, then it's bad for you. But that's probably right. Like if it's not doing that,
If it's not doing that, it's damaging you in some way, I think. Like
yeah,
if you're not working in a job that aligns with your values, like okay, for example, like I think it's okay to do that if you also do other things and your life is balanced, and yet you might have like lots of time doing hobbies and things that make you feel great. But if you're just doing a job that you don't really care about, it doesn't give you anything, it is going to affect your soul, because we are geared towards connection. We are geared towards creating things and like having a joyful time and like helping people and like experiencing the world. Like it's such an amazing place. And so like if there's no sense of adventure, if all of the creativity gets dragged out of everything, which is what a lot of these corporate businesses do,
Mm.
then you are just sort of left, like I can feel it in my body now, like it's just like a sense of there's something missing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are quite happy with that because they've not remembered what it feels like to be inspired and to be happy, because it's just been completely wiped out of them.
Yeah. 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 And for a lot of reasons as well. Like sometimes it's like a generational thing of like we inherit the mental health standards that each generation has given before us. So like if we imagine like I I don't know, like every generation inherits how their parents dealt with things, right? And then they try and improve
Yeah,
upon
yeah,
that, and then the next generation tries to improve upon that. And I guess like we're already it's such a big task to do everything how you want to be doing it anyway. Then you've got to kind of
yeah.
shed off this whole
Mm.
that like that generation's advice isn't going to work for me. I need to come up with a new one.
Yeah, exactly.
It
Yeah.
is it's such a task that I can see why collectively it's super difficult. Um, I often think if you could separate a generation, just have them live in some weird bubble somewhere. I don't know. That might be half the problem of like disconnecting it and reconnecting it. Um, but yeah, I think that's a challenge enough. And then um, I don't know, doing it as a group is quite interesting, isn't it? Doing it as a society and trying to all heal together. It's a bit like if you've got friends that you outgrow, that's difficult enough.
Mm.
If you're growing in a different direction from the people you went to school with and you need to get time away from them, yeah, I guess we're not all, yeah, we're trying to do it in lots of different ways.
And like, I want to say something positive here as well, because
Yeah.
I do feel that like I think that
Otherwise, it's all
this
fucked.
happens, like I think this is happening now. Like I would say,
Yeah.
even though the world's not perfect, there's like a barrier to spaces where people can heal collectively,
Yeah. Yeah.
etc., etc. I do think that there are so many beautiful moments that I feel that I have with my friends and just people around me, where I break down those barriers, and we do have those moments of connection, and we can inspire others and they can inspire us to make a change. And there is so many of these groups out there, or things that we can do to reconnect and to learn a different way of living,
Yeah.
and all of that is accessible if we look for it. um, and we can create those spaces. Like I think we underestimate how much power we do have, because we've been constantly subconsciously told that we don't have power
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
we can't make a change. And it does feel that way. I think when we watch the news, we just think, oh, this is all out of my control. Like, how
Yeah.
do we
Yeah.
stop this? Like, it can feel so like unempowering, which I think has an effect on our nervous systems and puts us in a
Yeah.
dorsal vagal depressive state. But there is actually so much that we can do, and we are living in such interesting times. I do think that lots of things are breaking through at the moment,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that there is hope. I think that there is hope for a
I
better
think there's
world.
definitely hope, and I think COVID changed something as well. I think like it seems like there's lots of kind of a distrust of the mainstream narrative, which there were pockets of that before, but it seems like
Yeah, it's completely blown
it's
up now.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
think anyone trusts the government.
No, and
Like,
that's the thing of like
yeah,
it's a bit like being able to grow from friends that are you've got different values or something, sometimes you need to be able to reconnect and then change and grow and then connect again.
Yeah, I love that.
It's a bit like we're doing that with media. You know how like they say like um mainstream news channels and things like that are just like totally losing l- lots of their
Yeah, there's no point watching it.
it-
Like, because you
it's
just
all
don't even know if
ridiculous
it's true.
how much
Like,
that's
what's the point?
plummeted. They're
Yeah.
relying on like tricking advertisers in that they have a following still, and they really don't. You know how there's that thing of like they have test subjects that are like, so for every test subject they have, it shows who's watching a certain thing. And for each test person that they have, it shows that 10,000 people are watching. But they choose who their test subjects are. So they choose people that already watch TV. But if you actually took like a stat of like who's actually paying attention to
Mm.
mainstream media, like it's really, really low. And their budget is like it's hemorrhaging money. So
I
it's
mean,
really interesting that like society to grow and to evolve is switching off, is kind of switching off that, and we're relying more on like
our own
nin-
news sources.
our own news sources and our
Yeah,
collective like
yeah,
our collective people that we might follow them to get that story on that thing because
yeah.
they're there. So there's some proper power in that.
And that's so hopeful, I think,
Yeah,
that people are being sort of forced to consider that the reality that they're being presented is not true, or at least in some way painted in a certain light to make one side look better or another.
yeah,
Um, I think that will be really useful, but then I also think that there are certain generations that just will continue believing what they want to believe, you know, because I think it is difficult to change as we get older.
yeah,
It's not impossible. I really do think that anyone can change at any point in their lives, but yeah.
yeah, for sure. Are you all right if we take a quick break
Yeah.
and come back to it? Yeah. Yeah, so welcome back. Yeah, I guess how would for people that aren't aware so much of polyvagal theory, um, it's probably good for us to talk about a bit how, there are things in society that affect our nervous system that we might not be aware of. Like, did you encounter that as well when you're going through your healing journey and you're learning about the nervous system? Were there encounters where, outside of the internal struggles that you're sort of rubbing up against very intense versions of that are just in society?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I would say that I don't think people are aware of. So there's someone said, I think it is very true, that your nervous system will only be as regulated as the three people that you spend the most time with. And so,
Yes.
like, it is important to be aware of that, but then not get obsessive about it. Because I did get a bit obsessive about that, of like, oh, well, I'm never going to heal because I'm in a house with three really dysregulated people.
Yeah.
So it's like you can take charge of that, I think, by spending time in other places and just making sure that you're spending time in nature is always so good for regulating your nervous system and just getting some clarity on your thoughts. And it kind of goes vice versa. So if you're able to get yourself to a regulated place, other people's nervous systems will naturally fall into place with yours as well.
Yeah.
So that's a really important thing. And then obviously spending time on your phone and screens is a massive thing that will cause you to dissociate and go into a freeze state. So when we watch telly, when we're on our phones quite a lot, it automatically puts the nervous system into a freeze state, which isn't like always a bad thing because we can grow capacity around what we're able to handle. So it's not about like avoiding it completely, but it's just about being aware of how much time you're spending on that and just listening to your own body. Because I think we've all experienced that feeling where we spent too long on our phones and we get that horrible kind of icky feeling of like, oh, I just need to like go and do something
Yeah.
else. Um, so yeah, spending time outside and spending time doing wholesome things. I think anything creative is such a big shift that you can do to regulate yourself and to change your mood. And anything that will elevate you will really help you to develop more capacity to handle things that don't feel good around you.
Yeah, yeah. With the phones, I know that they've done some research. I mean, not research, but like part of the reason why it's can be so bad for you is it's like people don't think of it like this, but it's like shining a torch in your face just all the time because that's the
Yeah,
kind of
that
light that
light
you're
is bad.
getting, and
Yeah.
you're getting that flashing light. But you're kind of saying like it doesn't kind of matter what the content is, it's the act of it, right? Um like the stillness of it, or the fact that you're not able to be moving, or is it more that your brain is not having to think much, or like what's the act that's happening there, do you think, that's dysregulating your
So
nervous system?
yeah, so sitting still for long periods of time and looking at one thing will automatically put your body in a freeze state. So it doesn't really matter what you're watching, but then at the same time, if you're watching constantly distressing things, that will obviously impact you,
Yeah,
and will bring up a lot of emotions. So it's kind of like a bit of a double whammy. That's not to say to avoid it completely, because we want to build some strength and resilience around what we're able to handle, but just recognizing when we're getting into patterns of picking up phones as an avoidance technique for what we're feeling.
yeah,
Um, and it could be like your body's quite wise. So when you don't have the capacity to handle something, you automatically reach for something that will bring you back a little bit because you're not able to actually handle and process things. But what we want to try and teach our bodies is that they do have the capacity to handle things. Um, so yeah, kind of just playing around with like what's going on in my body when I don't reach for my phone, what's coming up inside of me that
yeah,
might need a bit of attention and to be looked at, and kind of pendulating between using your phone as a way to get a bit of rest and then also trying other things and not going on your phone and just experiencing what's happening in your body and like following your body's cues for what it wants. It might just need you to be present with it, like maybe put a hand on your heart and just be with it. Or it could be that as soon as you start to pay attention to that sensation that's uncomfortable, it starts to shift into something else, and you might need to release something or to, um, well, yeah, it's just about following your cues of your body. So
yeah,
yeah, just really being with that and listening to your intuition about what your body might need in that moment.
yeah. I can see why it's definitely more challenging when you're trying to be present when you're looking at a phone or looking at a screen or watching a show, because that's kind of what it does best, isn't it? Of kind of shutting down that presentness,
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
just a
It's like
distraction.
it's an extra challenge to be present when you're watching something. Um, yeah, definitely. I think they've kind of made it like that. They've tweaked it like that quite a bit. Um, where like the most popular series, for example, is always the thing that it's not. a challenge to watch. It's easy to watch. It's got an easy script. Um, it might be quite an interesting script, but it's not a jarring script. Everything's quite laid out for you in this formulaic way, where like the top series will always have a very easy formula to follow, so that you are kind of engaged and lost in it, and then you're watching it till the 10th episode. But because it's done in a way where you can put your mind to sleep and still take it in. That's how
Yeah.
formulaic they've got a kind of, you know, if you're too present when you're watching something, you're going to lose interest, or you're going to pull back. Um,
Yeah. I read an article the other day actually about how um they're basically making TV a little bit more boring so that you will be on your phone at the same time as watching TV.
yeah, yeah,
So you'll be like
that's terrible, but I can
doubly
totally
distracted.
believe it as well. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's like encouraging that like constant distraction from your body or what's present that might be a bit uncomfortable for you to sit with.
yeah,
So I think just being aware of like that addiction and but then also having compassion for yourself that they've got the psychology down so well that they're able to know exactly what to do
yeah,
to encourage these addictions and not beat yourself up about it. I think
yeah,
that's really important.
yeah. People think that writers and shows that get shows right are just, that person's amazing that made that show. There is a certain amount of talent that goes into it, but then there's also like endless focus groups of like, how were they interacting it? Were they engaged? Was it easy enough for them to follow? And then yeah, there's totally I could see why they want you looking at your phones as well, to be
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
yeah. And it's kind of capitalism kind of tapping into that natural resource of, you know, we don't know how to regulate our nervous system well, and so it's easy for them to take advantage of it. And if we did know how to regulate it, it wouldn't they wouldn't be able to take advantage of it as much.
no,
Like
yeah,
for people that get nature enough during the week, they're not they're not going to be easily led into looking at their phones because they've got the alternative. Um, yeah, 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 yeah. That's some good solid advice for sure. Yeah. Um, and it's a good way to see that, yeah, for anyone that's wanting to see it in themselves, that kind of how you can regulate your nervous system and how that can play an effect. That is a good way to start with something that's already trying to hijack that system. Um, yeah, that's great. That's really good advice. Yeah, and I hope, well, I don't hope, but I know that like in your art and your creativity, I can imagine, yeah, there'll be a healthiness to it where it won't feel like watching one of these formulaic
oh no,
series.
no,
Yeah.
people
Um,
won't want to be on their phones when they're
yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, that was great. Maybe we should, yeah, let people know how they can find your stuff. Um, yeah, how can people find what you do and your art and your creative side and your outlet?
so yeah, when I do things, I would normally advertise it on my Instagram. So that's at LXZARD. So it's like lizard, but instead of the I, an X. Yeah, that's how you find my creative stuff.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. And as with every show, we like to wrap it up with kind of a way that the audience can connect with the ideas, and where you get them from, and where's what's fueling you. So like three things that inform yourself. So yeah, did you have what what have you got?
What have I got? So I'd recommend everybody who's interested in kind of understanding your nervous system responses and learning how to regulate your emotions, to look up the polyvagal theory. There's loads of books on it. They're all really good. And there's a lot of podcasts about polyvagal theory as well. I definitely recommend just looking up, doing a bit of research on that, and consider working with a somatic therapist who can help you to complete your trauma responses. So, like if you're triggered by something, somebody who can guide you through the process of regulation through that instead of constant distraction, which is the main problem that we're having. Another thing I'd recommend is looking at brain retraining, which is neural rewiring, which is slightly different because it's more of a top-down approach, which means that you're using your mind to regulate your whole system. A somatic approach is more tapping into the body to regulate the mind. So that would be a bottom-up approach. Both of those approaches are really useful. There's a great person called Dr. Kat, and she has a program called Primal Trust, and it's all centered around nervous system regulation and recovering from chronic health issues as well as mental health issues through regulating your autonomic nervous system. A lot of people have had amazing results with it, and it's a very comprehensive course that I would recommend anyone do.
Nice, that's perfect. Yeah, some really good recommendations. I like the idea of recommending the top down and the bottom up. There's probably a way that, you know, people will find it more intuitive if they start with one or the other, but like trialing that for yourself and seeing kind of which one feels more intuitive at first to sort of
Yeah.
build that connection, that makes sense. You definitely get people that seem to like think more in their body than in their mind and vice versa. So it's good to, try what works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
nice.
sure.
Top recommendations. Yeah, I love that. That was great. That was a good dive into mental health. Um, and I like the way it kind of naturally went into you can't talk about mental health without talking about society, but it's so interlinked.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
that I think it's a lot of the reason why I think, there's so many people trying to change society is because they're feeling that uncomfortableness. So it's like it's so interlinked with artists that are putting stuff out there that they're trying to change the world, and at the same time that's improving. So there's like a real connection there that, um, yeah, it's quite obvious that, yeah, it can be quite an inspiring thing to change society. Yeah, and I sit in hope for sure.
Yeah.
I live in hope. I'm a very hopeful person. Sometimes when I'm talking about capitalism, I go on a bit of a rant, and there's less hope there. But it's more because I don't know, I fundamentally see it as something that I want to, I would like to see change in my life where we can detach from it and find, even if it was a healthier way to attach to it, or just an awareness of it. Just like with mental health, I think detaching from these unhealthy connections. Yeah, it seems like society's on quite a good curve with talking about mental health. I just I just hope that it's always in the way that's like recognizing how intertwined it is. Um, but yeah, you've done a really good job of exploring that for sure.
Oh, thank you.
And you're welcome to come back on any time and talk about anything you like. Yeah, nice. Thanks for checking in on the Connected Sphere. We'll be having lots more episodes come up, so check in soon and stay mentally healthy out there and do all you can because everything's trying to grab your attention. So make sure it's the right thing. Yeah. Take care. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Nice.